Welcome back to the Pig Trail Show. It is time for our Hog Hoops report with Kevin McPherson. As always, he's joining us over Zoom right now. And Kevin, let's start things off with Trey Wade. Once again, Eric Musselman, no surprise here, dipping into the transfer portal. What can you tell us about him?
Well, first of all, you said it, Eric Musselman in the transfer portal. This is Arkansas's fifth transfer edition from the portal in this recruiting cycle for 2021. And it gives them now seven newcomers for the coming season. Kamani Johnson, who spent a semester redshirting, and then the six in the recruiting class, one out of the high school ranks, but five transfers. And Trey Wade brings qualities that are similar to some of the, when you're talking about size, as guys like DC Tony and Stanley Umide, 6'6", 220. So there's going to be a lot of versatility in this lineup. As I see Musselman just looking at how he selected players to build this third roster since he's been with the Razorbacks, I see a lot of small ball lineup possibilities on a lot of the positionless basketball he talks about, because Trey Wade is a guy that can play the 3-4 combo. So he's going to be able to defend multiple positions. When you look at Trey Wade's stats coming out of Wichita State, last year's senior season, over 6 points a game, you're not really looking at shooting efficiency and things like that. What you look at are his rebounding numbers, which are impressive, over 5 a game and only 23 minutes a game. So he's a guy that's going to attack the glass. I think he's going to be the type of guy that's a glue guy, brings some physicality, brings some toughness to the court. All teams need that.
Yep.
I go back in the past few years, Tara, guys like Manny Watkins, Alandis Harris, a couple of the names I think about, guys that could help you at both ends of the floor without necessarily scoring a lot of points. Got to have guys like that. And I think Trey Wade fits that bill. And again, at 6'6", 3-4 combo, Arkansas is going to be able to, you go outside of Connor Vanover and Jalen Williams, everybody's 6'7" and under from that point when you look at the roster. So again, I think there's going to be a lot of small ball out there, but Trey Wade is also bringing NCAA tournament experience from a program like Wichita State that's been one of the better mid-majors out there for the last several years.
Well, Kevin, let's talk a little bit about recruiting. We've got 4 in-state prospects that just recently played in an All-American camp. You got to watch some of it. Who was out there?
Pangos All-American Camp, Khalil Ware and Darian Ford, class of 2022, both ranked in the national top 40. They were just coming off their official visits to Arkansas the first few days of June, went out to Pangos at that weekend, and both showed well out there. 2023, Layden Blocker, a 6'1" point guard that played at Little Rock Christian Academy the last couple of years. He'll be at Sunrise Christian Academy in Kansas for his junior season, but he also played very well, as did 2024 Arkansas offer Keonor Boateng at a Little Rock Central, one of only 5 freshmen invited. This camp had over 100 players. It's one of the top individual all-star type of camps for high school players that takes place in June. It's really the first one in June, and there's probably 2 or 3 more that are really good, but this is one of the best. And, there were all 30 NBA teams represented with scouts at this event. So Khalil Ware, the takeaways were he was probably one of the top 10 campers during the weekend. That's big because there's over 100. Yeah. And then Layden Blocker, who I mentioned out of the 2023 class, both of those guys made the top 30 All-Star game, which is played on the final day of camp. Mm-hmm. Darian Ford made the top 60 All-Star game, so he showed well. And then Keonor Boateng, there weren't any of the 5 freshmen that I noticed getting All-Star recognition. But what I saw him, I was very impressed. And one of the biggest takeaways is Arkansas basketball on that kind of stage with NBA scouts, it continues to build a reputation as probably being under the radar in terms of national exposure in some of these rankings, because I feel like Khalil Ware is going to move up and eventually be a 5-star. But I felt like he's been a 5-star prospect for a while. Layden Blocker is going to move up in the rankings, currently ranked number 57 in class of 2023. I see him as a top 35 guy. Keonor Boateng may end up being a 5-star, the freshman. Darian Ford, again, already top 40, probably about right for him. He might move up some down the road, but Arkansas is obviously heavily involved in recruiting these guys. And Blocker just took an unofficial visit as well right before he went to Pango. So Arkansas, when you get them on campus, that's the next step. But to see these guys do well on a national stage like that justifies why you'd be recruiting them and making them priorities.
Well, Kevin, what about the current Arkansas team? I know they just recently had another week of limited practice. What have you heard about how it all went?
Well, they wrapped up a second week. It's always productive because you're only getting right now 4 hours a week on court, 4 hours in strength and conditioning plus the 4 on court. Eric Musselman has a fast-paced practice. Everything's planned out, and he's already working on strategy. This week they worked on offense, and I've been talking about small ball, talking about the size on the roster. I think there's going to be a huge lateral movement upgrade because last year's team was challenged in that regard. I think there's going to be a lot more burst and quickness based on the players I see, and I think they're going to play a lot of 5-men out. So you're going to see the versatility even more so of Connor Vanover, Jalen Williams playing away from the basket. As Arkansas doesn't necessarily have a true post presence on the floor all the time and runs a 5-out offense, which means spacing becomes very important as it becomes specific to what Eric Musselman envisions in year 3. He's not a guy that has a set system in what he's going to do. It's going to be based on the personnel that he brings in. Again, 7 newcomers are going to hit the floor for Arkansas, and I really think as they work on offense, even this early, you start talking about spacing that floor. You got 5 out. So you got to figure out a way to get guys in optimal position based on their strengths. You're looking at not only the spacing, but also how you're going to pace that offense and utilize that quickness. So, again, if anybody can make the most out of 4 hours a week, it's Eric Musselman, but it was offense they worked on this week. And a quick update on KK Robinson, the 6-foot COVID freshman. We'll call him that because he was a freshman last year. He gets it over, but he missed most of the season with that foot injury. Mm-hmm. He's still not back in full contact practice yet. He's practicing, but when they do scrimmage work, most of it's half court. He's not doing that right now when they go live. But that's something we're going to keep an eye on because, again, you look at Jalen Williams, Devo Davis last year and how good they were as true freshmen. Of course, Moses Moody's moved on to the NBA draft. But I think KK Robinson can have that kind of impact once he's full go.
Yeah, and I know we're all hoping that he has enough time to fully recover from that surgery and stuff in time for the season because we're all excited to see what he can do out there on the court. But that's going to wrap up our Hog Hoops report. Kevin McPherson, as always, thank you so much for your time and your insight. We'll be back with more on the Pig Trail right after the break.